Here inside Quicken Loans Arena, Cavs a winner tonight. Second time they have played LeBron-James' former team, the Miami Heat. This time a win, 113-93. Chris Fedor, Vardon, Chris Haynes to recap this one. Guys, it was a terrific performance, and before we get into the performance itself and what some of the guys had to say in the locker room, Kevin Love exited the game at about the 9-minute mark of the third quarter. Got scratched in the eye by Miami's Mario Chalmers. Chris, what did he say in the locker room after the game? Can he play tomorrow against Chicago?
Well, first of all, he was in great spirits. He talked about his eye being a little bit blurry for the first 20-30 minutes, but he said he was okay. He felt fine, and obviously he's going to be reevaluated tomorrow morning to see if he can give it a go. But by all accounts, man, what he was saying and how he was talking, it made it come off as that if he's playing. Now, would he be wearing some goggles or would he not? But I think, I would be highly shocked if he's not playing tomorrow night.
Said after the game that he was willing to try goggles, but he's hoping that he doesn't have to go that route. Kevin Love, 12 points, 5 of 8 shooting. David Blatt said before he got injured, he was the best player on the court for either team. That's how much of an impact he was making. One of 7 players in double figures. Another guy in double figures, Joe, LeBron-James, playing against his former team for the second time. In Brazil, it was Cavs Heat. It was all about LeBron. It was all about him playing against his old team. Christmas Day, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tonight, you felt like it didn't have that same kind of feeling. Why?
Yeah, it really didn't. I mean, I think there was barely any build-up to the rematch, James against his old team. Talked to him about it yesterday. He just didn't seem to have kind of that same connection that he had back on Christmas Day. And then tonight, he was about the Cavs. And this is really important. Chris, I mean, as we all remember, on Christmas Day, LeBron, he scored 30 points, but he wasn't there mentally. He was back in the Heat locker room. He was overcome by all the standing ovation, the video tribute, and things just weren't going well in Cleveland. Andy Varejao had just gotten hurt. It was a bad time for him, and he spoke about how badly he missed his Miami teammates. Tonight, he was like, it's always going to be special when I see them, but I've got my own thing going on here in Cleveland, and it felt like he meant it. And I think it was just a sign of how much closer he's drawn to the Cavs now versus back on Christmas Day.
Now, is that just because they're winning? Is that because he feels like he's got better teammates than what he had in Miami? Is that just because time has drifted him away from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's everything. He feels better physically. He feels better. He's in a better place mentally. He feels better about the direction of the team. He's on more of the same page with his coach, and he has just decided when he wrote that letter in July, he meant every word he said. But there's a big difference between writing it and living it, and it took him a couple months to just come to terms with just what he had taken on here in Cleveland. And when he was out for those 2 weeks, it's almost like he exhaled and just said, you know what, this is my situation, and he's taking it by the reins.
Chris, when it comes to the Cavs, so many people talk about the big three. That's the first thing they talk about because you've got LeBron, you've got Kevin Love, you've got Kyrie Irving. That's how the team was built. But tonight, 7 players in double figures. Really, over the last couple of weeks, it's been more of a balanced scoring attack for the Cavs offensively. It shows that they're much more than just this big three. They've got the others that have stepped up, and that's going to be important as the season goes on.
And one reason why they've stepped up is because of the defensive end. They're getting a lot of stops and getting out in transition a lot more. And you got a lot of players who like to thrive in transition. We talk about Shumpert and J.R. Smith and those guys. Even Tristan Thompson got a nice dunk and a nice transition break there. So when they play defense, they can get out there and you can start seeing a lot more balanced attacks. Now, you're not going to see a lot of times they're scoring 7 guys in double figures, but anytime when you got the points per game spread it out amongst that many guys, lets you know you're doing something. And Coach Blatt, this is what we wanted to see from him, inputting his stamp on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball. They're starting to do that now. They believe in him.
It's funny that you bring up Tristan Thompson. Tonight, 17 points, 9 rebounds. He comes into the game when Kevin Love goes out with the eye injury. Tristan Thompson never went back to the bench. He played the rest of the way. Tristan is somebody who started the last 2 years before this year. He gets moved to the bench because they make the blockbuster trade for Kevin Love. He's willing to accept that kind of role. look, he's been up and down. He's not great offensively. I think everybody understands that. He's decided that he's going to shoot more with his right hand than his left hand. So there have been things that have been obstacles for Tristan. But LeBron talked about it after the game, and David Blatt talked about it after the game. Just the luxury that they have to be able, when Kevin Love goes down, to have a guy like Tristan step up.
You're not going to have too many 23-year-olds in this league. Excuse me, real quick. My phone is going off.
Well, I'll take this opportunity to say the goofy faces I was making was because they wheeled the mascot costume right by our camera, and I was trying to say, they're going to make it. So that's why I'm acting like a fool.
Well, like I was saying, you're not going to find too many 23-year-olds. Okay. You're not going to find too many 23-year-olds out there who understand their role. Okay. And they stay within themselves, and they're not going to go outside the team concept. Tristan Thompson, he doesn't care if he's starting, doesn't care if he's coming off the bench. He just wants to make a contribution. And that contribution may not be playing. It may be just supporting his teammates on the bench. He's willing to do that. Like I said, a lot of young guys, they don't get that. By him having that understanding right now, man, you can just imagine how he's going to mature into a player and a person, from years on. And the Cavaliers have a big decision to make about this guy at the end of the year. A lot of teams are looking at this guy. I owe you a story. I say that. Got to get him out there. But he's definitely been a pleasant surprise.
Do you think the Cavs understand, Chris, how much value he's worth? Because, if you look at the points and the rebounds, it's like 9 points per game. It's 8 rebounds. And that's usually not going to get a big-time contract.
I think they understand now because we've seen Kevin Love. He's still an all-star. We're not going to dispute that. But when you're talking about winning championship ball, Kevin Love has sat out fourth quarters about 2 times this year, around 2 or 3 times this year, and a lot of times that's Tristan Thompson getting there and getting that start. So what that says is Tristan Thompson is a better defensive player, and not only is going to get your rebounds, but he just brings that toughness and that mental attitude. And that's something that Kevin Love fans, even media, want to see from Kevin.
Right.
Just get that dog in you, get that fight and that bite in you. When they're hammering you in the mouth, don't just sulk and just take it. Instill some pain by on your own regard. So I think Tristan Thompson, I think they're realizing what they got in him.
113-93 the final tonight. Cavs beat the Miami Heat. Joe, they play Chicago tomorrow. It's the final game before the All-Star break. Matthew Dellavedova is going to be there at All-Star Weekend because he is in the Rising Stars game. Yes, a lot of people surprised about that one, but he is going to be there. Kyrie Irving going to be there. LeBron-James going to be there. Second night of the back-to-back on the road against Chicago. Last game before the All-Star Weekend. What do you expect from this team?
That's a good question. The Cavs have beaten Chicago twice, including once in the second night of the back-to-back. So they can do this. They're playing really well. I guess I'll expect them to eclipse last year's win total. Believe it or not, with tonight's win, they equaled last year's 33-win season.
It's nice to have LeBron-James. I wouldn't say that much for the Cavs.
Just a little bit.
It's funny, Chris, because I was thinking as I was watching the Cavs today that their best basketball is still in front of them. And one of the reasons why I think that is because Iman Shumpert still really hasn't gotten into the flow yet. He started to more. Double figures the other night, double figures again tonight, knocked down 3 threes. When he gets into the flow, when he gets more comfortable, do you anticipate the Cavs moving him into the starting lineup and bringing J.R. Smith off the bench?
I still think that's the plan.
Okay.
Because look at 38 points from the bench tonight. Add J.R. Smith to that bench, man. That's going to be an electric dynamite bench right there. Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, and,
Sean Marion, maybe.
You know what? I forgot. I was just about to name Imam, but Imam was going in that starting lineup. So, but it's still. I think they made this trade happen with that in mind, with that vision. I think it's going to come to pass. It's hard to justify moving JR when they've been playing so well with him in there. So maybe we'll see a difference or a change after the break.
So as Joe said, 33 wins now for the Cavs. One more game before the All-Star break. It's tomorrow against the Chicago Bulls in Chicago. Tonight's final again, 113-93. Cavs a winner against LeBron's former team, the Miami Heat. For Joe Vardon, Chris Haynes, I'm Chris Fedor. Good night from the Q.